I worked the midnight shift at a creepy radio station. The call that haunted me forever. The clock struck midnight, the witching hour, when shadows grew arms, pulling the unsuspecting into their eerie embrace. Sam, the lone night DJ at WZRD, sat in the dim light, surrounded by century-old equipment that hummed and crackled like whispers of the dead. It was a radio station like no other nestled between rotting trees and foggy hills. Its reputation was as twisted as the vines crawling up its crumbling facade. Each night brought strange sounds, unsettling calls, and rumors of ghostly listeners yearning to be heard. Only the brave or stupid would spend time in its haunted walls. Whispers told of a spectral host who still lingered, a man who had vanished without a trace. Listeners swore they could hear him faintly in the static, his laughter mingling with the transmission, sending a shiver down the spine of anyone who dared tune in. One deep silence fell harder than the rest, an unheard presence lingering in the gloom, just waiting to pounce, wrapping around Sam like an icy breath. That night, a spontaneous urge clawed at Sam, dragging him to the open microphone, as if it were alive. He was about to share a ghost story of his own, a local urban legend about lost souls who sought refuge in the station's wires. The lights flickered, sending an electric jolt through his body, and the air thickened, pregnant with anticipation. Unbeknownst to him, a storm brewed outside, thrashing the trees like desperate hands reaching for salvation. And then, it happened. The phone rang. A shrill, sharp echo that sliced through the heavy atmosphere. He hesitated, heart thumping wildly in his chest. Who would call at such an hour? Surely it was just a harmless prank, right? But something in his gut twisted sharply, a feeling like ice scraping against bone. He picked up the receiver, knowing deep down that his life was about to change forever. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. He lifted the receiver closer, his pulse racing. Hello? He stammered, voice trembling slightly. Silence stretched on the other end, as if the darkness had swallowed the words. Then, a whisper, cold and haunting, crept through. Help me, please. It echoed in his mind like a dark melody, pulling him in. Panic clawed at his throat. He could barely breathe. Who was it? Why were they calling him? A lump formed as the weight of his responsibility pressed down. The voice faded, leaving a hollow echo and a promise of dread. Suddenly, the lights flickered more violently, and he could swear he saw a figure, pale and flickering in the gloom of the studio. Sam's hands trembled on the desk, sweat pooling at his temples. Was this the ghost everyone spoke of? No way was he imagining it. He had to know what this was, who was reaching out from the darkness. But the storm raged outside, intensifying, and with every crash of thunder, his breath quickened. Would he dare search for the truth behind the call? What if he found answers better left unspoken? The clock ticked louder, and Sam felt the walls close in. He was stuck in a trap of eerie radio silence, tethered to a past that refused to let go. As he strained to listen for the voice again, the air grew thicker. Who or what was on the other end? The answers were buried in the night, veiled in mystery and fear. But he knew one thing: he needed to find out. What would the call reveal? And would it lead to salvation, or damnation? Sam's breath caught in his throat as he glanced around the dim studio, shadows dancing like phantoms along the walls. The fear ricocheted through him like a wild animal, primal and raw. Help me please still echoed in his mind, haunting him, taunting him. He clutched the receiver tighter, as if the pressure could somehow bring clarity. Who are you? He whispered into the dark, his voice barely making it past the tremble of his own fear. No response came, just the relentless thrum of the storm outside. Thunder clapped, shaking the very bones of the station, and lightning illuminated the grotesque face of an antique clock, its hands moving backward in defiance of time. A chill swept through Sam, as if the room itself groaned in acknowledgement of his terror. Why was he still here? He could pack up and leave, let the morning sun chase away the dark. But something in insatiable curiosity, a desperate urge held him captive. He leaned forward, nearly reaching the microphone with reckless determination. If someone was in trouble, they deserved his help. The lights flickered again, and suddenly, whispers filled the air like an unholy chorus, drowning out the storm. He strained to listen, heart racing against the cacophony. They beckoned him, a melody of despair, drawing him to the edge of his seat. Sam, a voice drifted, smooth and silky yet laced with an eerie undertone. You must listen closely, and then, it hit him, he recognized that voice. It belonged to a past he thought long buried. The name crossed his mind like a shadow, a flash of memories that clawed at him. Sam's pulse quickened as he struggled to recall. Is this? But the voice continued, clarifying nothing, only thickening the suspense. There are secrets lost in the wires of this station. You seek truth, but you must. A jarring static erupted, making him jerk back as an unearthly scream clawed through the receiver. The sound twisted his gut, and he dropped the phone, his heart hammering against his ribs. A cold sweat broke out across his brow as he stumbled back, gaping at the now silent overhead speakers. He knew he should have walked away. Instead, he found himself standing frozen, eyes darting around as panic surged. How deep did the darkness run? The haunting whispers returned, echoing through his mind louder than the pounding rain. He stepped to the door, thinking he could flee this nightmare, but something held him back, an unseen force chaining him in place, binding him to the microphone. Please, the voice returned, softer this time, desperate. You must finish what was started. Terror spiraled in his stomach as chilling realization hit him. This wasn't just a call for help, it was a summons. The station had been waiting for someone to unravel the threads of its dark history, and now, that someone was him. He swallowed hard, holding his breath as the storm raged louder outside, the echoes of past lives swirling around him like a maelstrom. How had he come to be a part of this twisted legacy? What soul was trapped in the limbo of WZRD? He needed answers. Only he could decide whether to dive deeper into the abyss or turn back now. And as the clock continued its maddening tick, the lights above crackled violently, giving way to another ghostly presence, a flicker of hope or a warning? Would he dare pick up the phone again? The weight of the decision loomed heavy in the air. The looming specter of the past pushed him forward, demanding that he unearth a truth that might be better left buried. Sam's hand trembled as he took a step closer to the microphone. The room felt alive, each shadow whispering secrets he couldn't decipher. Finish what was started. The urgency wrapped around him like a noose, tightening with each second. He hesitated only a moment more before snatching up the receiver. I'm here, he spoke, his voice stronger than he felt. The static crackled in response, haunting echoes dancing in the air. Good, the voice lilted, now clearer but still shrouded in an eerie chill. They'll come for you. They're waiting just as they waited for me. Who? Sam demanded, pushing through the rising tide of fear. What do you want from me? A soft laugh crept through the phone, chilling Sam to the bone. To know the truth, Sam. To know what happened here. A flash of lightning lit the room, illuminating the cluttered walls covered in dust and old records. Sam's heart raced. He felt like he was holding the weight of every lost soul in this station, each begging to be remembered. It was suffocating yet intoxicating. Your past isn't just your own, the voice continued, filled with a strange mix of gravity and lightness. You are woven into this tale. A fabric of sorrow that needs to unravel. Images of his childhood rushed back, fleeting moments he'd chosen to forget, the abandoned buildings, ghost stories told on stormy nights, and his father's warnings that laughter could mask shadows. But those fragments were piecing together now, revealing a puzzle he never wanted to solve. Is my father? Sam started, but the static drowned out his words. The voice cut in, he knows more than he has ever told you. This is about him, and you. Enough. Sam shouted, yet his command felt weak against the chaos surrounding him. The storm howled outside, a tempest that threatened to spill inside. And then the whispers crescendoed, drowning him, a tidal wave of voices that screamed all at once. "Help us! Help us!" Panic clawed at his throat as he staggered back, the receiver slipping from his fingers and hitting the floor with a dull thud. Heart pounding, he turned toward the door but found it barred, something unseen pushed against it. The air thickened, and shadows stretched toward him, tendrils of darkness that twisted and writhed. Sam, the plea echoed around him, the intensity sharpening. "You mustn't leave," he staggered against the wall, his breath coming in short gasps. Each breath felt heavier with the weight of unexpected realization. The station was alive, its memories and phantoms hungry for acknowledgement. And then, without warning, the lights flickered again before plunging him into darkness, a suffocating blanket of dread. Suddenly, the figures emerged, transparent forms, their faces twisted in agony, reaching out to him. At that moment, he realized these souls sought not only their peace but also his. They were an extension of his own reality, bound to him in ways he had yet to grasp. "Why are you showing me this?" he cried out, his voice almost lost in the tempest. "Because," said the voice again, a chilling whisper now closer and more intimate. "Your journey has just begun." The lights returned, flickering erratically, and in the brief illumination, he saw something on the studio floor, a scrap of paper, stained and crumpled. With shaking hands, he picked it up, his eyes scanning the ink-scrawled words that felt all too familiar. The truth stood before him, a key towards unearthing deep-seated secrets. As he read the chilling message, dread coiled tighter in his stomach, the final piece of his family's puzzle threatening to unravel all he thought he knew. Only the brave can face the echoes of the past. It was a challenge. Sam's heart pounded. What lay ahead could either shatter everything or set him free. And as the wind howled outside, he felt another compelling pull, a call to delve deeper. Would he dive headfirst into this abyss of confusion, or would he run from the truth lurking in the shadows? The decision loomed larger than life, and the storm outside was only a prelude. The real tempest awaited within the confines of WZRD. Sam's heart thundered in his chest as he stared at the tattered paper in disbelief. The ink, smudged and faded, seemed to pulse in the flickering light. Only the brave can face the echoes of the past. It echoed in his mind, repeating like a sick mantra. A challenge, yes, but the stakes felt far beyond mere fear. With a resolve he didn't fully understand, he tossed the paper aside and steeled himself against the oppressive weight of the shadows swirling around him. The ethereal forms drifted closer, their faces contorted with grief, reaching out as if they too were desperate to grasp onto something tangible. Sam clenched his fists, feeling the sweat beads form on his brow. "Help us!" one of the souls cried, its voice a raw scrape against his senses. "Finish the story." But what story? The question spiraled in his thoughts, mixing with the storm outside. The wind howled like a caged beast, rattling the windows as if trying to break free from its trapped confines. Sam's instincts screamed at him to run, to escape the chaos, but the fervor in the air rooted him to the spot. "What do you mean?" he shouted, desperation coursing through his veins. "How do I finish anything? I don't even know what this is about." But silence enveloped him, thick and impenetrable. The figures paused, their expressions shifting from torment to a peaceful acceptance. It was unsettling. He could feel it gnaw at him, an unsettling certainty that he was meant to delve deeper. Then a sensation flickered at the edge of his consciousness, a memory, a voice. His father's echo rang through his ears. "Fear shows you your truths, Sam. Don't run from it." Would his father's warnings become his reality? Mustering all his courage, Sam pivoted to face the studio's dark corners. "I'm not afraid to face the truth," he declared, each word a small flame igniting in the overpowering darkness. He turned back to the specters, their faces sharpening with hope. "Then listen," one of them whispered, a voice that both soothed and frightened him. "You must find the record that was never played. It holds the answer, the key to our release." The urgency in the voice sent a shiver across Sam's spine. He glanced around the room, scanning the shelves lined with old records. Dust danced in the weak light as he moved toward the nearest shelf. The rows bore witness to countless stories buried in silence, their labels stained and unrecognizable. His fingers brushed against the covers, each one a door to a past that might destroy him, yet he could not resist the pull. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of lost hopes urging him on. Find it. Find the truth. Suddenly, Sam felt the ground tremble beneath his feet, sending vibrations rippling through the studio. The lights flickered violently as a shriek echoed from outside, a scream that seemed to tear through the night. Fear clawed at his throat. "What is happening?" he gasped. "Time is running out," the spectre warned, urgency dripping from its voice. "The storm won't wait for you to find it." Panic surged through Sam, but with each passing heartbeat, a new sense of determination burned brighter. He rifled through the records, urgency propelling his actions. There was no turning back. Then, just as he thought he might lose hope, his fingers landed on a singular record, its surface clean and shiny against the stormy backdrop. The label read echoes of yesterday. A chill ran down his spine. He had never seen this one before. As he pulled it from the shelf, the world seemed to hold its breath. He couldn't shake the feeling this was more than just a record, it was a lifeline, a connection to the truth he desperately needed. Then, the shadows stirred, calling to him like a siren's song. "Play it, Sam! Play it, and set us free!" The weight of every eye in the room bore upon him as he slid the record onto the turntable, summoning all the courage he had left. But what would he unleash? The needle touched the vinyl, and a piercing note sliced through the air. The figures erupted in an eerie glow. Sam braced himself for what was to come, feeling the room pulse with unearthly energy. Would this be the moment he discovered everything, or the moment it turned against him? A scream pierced the air, and with it, the thunder roared. It was now or never. What echoes waited to drown him in truth? The needle made contact with the record, and a haunting melody began to weave through the air, a sound like no other. It was beautiful yet twisted, as if the very essence of longing and sorrow were distilled into every note. Sam's breath hitched. The shadows around him seemed to pulse with life, drawn to the vibrations cascading from the turntable. As the music swelled, the specters shimmered, their features morphing into clearer images. Sam stepped back, his heart racing. Faces he recognized flashed before him, friends and family thought long lost. But it wasn't just nostalgia. There was something wrong, something terribly wrong. Each face was etched with an unspoken pain. Sam whispered a woman, her voice heartbreakingly familiar. It took him a moment to place her. "It's your mother." The realization crashed over him like a wave. "Mom?" he gasped. "Find the truth," she echoed, her ghostly form flickering. "You must understand why." Sam's heart twisted with the weight of memories he had buried. His mother had always just been a whisper in the background of his life, her absence more palpable than her presence. The questions he had avoided for so long surged to the forefront of his mind. "Why did you leave?" The words slipped out before he could stop himself. The specters around him shrieked in agony, their forms blurring, shifting, caught in an emotional storm. The music swirled with desperate urgency, echoing their collective grief. Sam felt the resonance deep within his bones. It wasn't just their pain, it was his too. "I didn't mean to." His mother's apparition reached out, her fingers brushing against the air as if she were trying to cross a chasm that separated them. "You must listen." Suddenly, the studio trembled, and the lights flickered violently. A surge of wind blew through, chilling him to the core. Sam knew time was slipping through his fingers. He needed answers, and the music felt like a portal to them, an invitation to uncover the truth. Then came the words. They vibrated from the record, and Sam could hear them clearly, the sacrifices of the past echo in the present. "You have to face it. You must play on." He gripped the turntable, feeling the power radiate. Questions and regrets collided in his mind, a war of will. Could he really face what lay hidden beneath the echoes? The tempo of the music changed, quickening with an intensity that threatened to overwhelm him. More forms materialized, voices began to join, layering over one another, an unholy symphony of regret. "Help us remember!" they cried, their spectral forms intertwining. One figure rose dramatically, a sharp contrast of light, a child. "Finish it, Sam! Don't let it be forgotten!" His heart seized. Memories of laughter and warmth flickered through the chaos, reminiscent of a time he wished he could return to. The child dissolved into the web of shadows, leaving behind only an urgent longing. Driven by a sense of inevitability, Sam turned back to the record. He couldn't just stand there. He had to unlock whatever truth this cursed melody held. He knew there was no backing away now. The whispers of the past were calling for reckoning. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of collective desperation around him. The shadows pulsed in sync with the music, and he could sense it, a secret woven into the notes, a reason buried deep in the fabric of time. "What do you want me to do?" he murmured to the spirits, his voice trembling. Then the music crescendoed, pouring forth a rush of emotions, blurring the lines of reality as visions cascaded before his eyes. Heartbeats of the past clashed with the thunder overhead, creating an atmosphere thick with tension. This was more than a record, this was a crucible for his fears. The next few notes hung precariously in the air. Would he uncover salvation or unleash despair? "Sam," his mother's voice chimed again, "the time to choose is now." And just then, the chaos intensified, the shadows swirling toward him. But what awaited in the depths of those echoes? Would he drown or rise above? When the final note struck, there was a flicker of light. Something unseen pulled at him, leaving Sam gasping for breath. Beware, the truth can wound as deeply as it heals. What harrowing discovery lay ahead for Sam? Only time would tell if the echoes would free him or consume him. Sam's world was plunged into chaos. The last note echoed, reverberating like a thunderclap in his chest. He staggered back, vision blurring, and instinctively pressed a hand against the wall for support. Shadows twisted around him, a dark whirlpool of despair, while the whispers intensified into a cacophony. "Remember! Remember!" A collective urge swept through the air, each voice layered with urgency. He clutched his head, struggling against the rising tide of fear. The studio was no longer just a place filled with memories, it had morphed into a battleground. A battle of wills where he was pitted against the past that clawed and demanded answers. "Your mother," the chorus of wails melded into one chilling plea. Sam's heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. "You must find the truth." "But what truth?" he shouted, desperation bursting forth. "What do you want from me?" The shadows pulsed with ferocity, but no answer came. Instead, more images flashed before him, cascading like an avalanche. He saw a house, a crumbling relic of his childhood. The warmth of sun-soaked days filled with laughter darkened into memories of storms and shadows. He saw himself a child again, standing in that very house, holding a broken toy. A gift from his mother. The scene shifted, and suddenly the toy was gone. Instead, there was anger. Sadness. A sense of irrevocable loss. Sam felt panic clawing at his throat. It wasn't simply his memories. It was as if everyone's pain was now his to bear. "No! I want to relive this!" he cried out. But the shadows tightened around him, binding him to the music, to the haunting melody that weaved through time and space. Then she appeared again, his mother's form merging back into view, her eyes wide with grief. "Sam," her voice was a ghostly echo, pulling at his heart. "You must remember the day we lost everything." The memory crashed into him harder than any wave. He saw the day unfold, the argument that had started it all. The slammed doors. The tears. A moment that had fractured their family. He felt the weight of that guilt entangle him like chains. "Why did you leave?" he whispered, tears spilling down his cheeks. Her face twisted in anguish as she dissolved into the shadows. "Find the truth." The shadows shifted again, revealing a box. A small, plain box hidden beneath the floorboards of that very house. It was a memory he had long forgotten, a relic buried under years of denial and neglect. "Dive deeper, Sam," urged a bitter male voice from the throng of spirits. "The pain arises from neglect. Seek what is buried." As the transformation grew more tumultuous, the music flared once more, wrapping around him like tendrils. Sam knew the truth awaited him right there in that box. And yet fear gripped him. Would unlocking it reveal salvation or another layer of torment? Oblivion awaits if you resist. Another figure screeched, their face a mask of despair. Every fiber of himself screamed for him to turn away. But even in fear, he felt that magnetic pull toward the unknown. With shaking hands, he willed himself to approach the specter of the box, feeling the weight of its significance. Would he gather the courage to confront it? The shadows surged as if sensing his dilemma, urging him onward. Just then, the music changed again, shifting to an ominous tone, foretelling the climax of his choices. Your life depends on this. Open the box. They chorused, their voices blending into a haunting symphony fueled by desperation. Sam's heart thundered. The final push was upon him. Suddenly, he felt the ground shake beneath him. The shadows raged, circling closer. Time was running thin. What if I can't handle the truth? He thought, a bitter taste rising in his throat. But something in him stirred. A flicker of hope mingled with the dread. Maybe confronting the past was the only way to set the future free. With one decisive breath, he reached for the box, steeling himself for whatever lay within. Would it reveal healing or sink him deeper into despair? The shadows stretched toward him, their energies swirling in anticipation. Sam! Open it! The wailing crescendoed, offering no mercy. Gritting his teeth, he lifted the lid. The music shifted into a spine-chilling silence, an ominous lull before the storm of revelations. As the box opened, darkness spilled out. What would emerge? And just like that, everything went black. The melody faded into nothingness, replaced by a deafening silence. What lay in wait beyond that silence? The true echoes of his past, or something darker still? Darkness enveloped him, thick and suffocating. Sam couldn't tell if his eyes were open or closed, a void that offered no refuge. His heart raced in the stillness, thumping loudly in his ears, a rhythmic reminder that he was still alive, still here. Then a flicker of light pulsed before him, a faint glimmer that cut through the blackness. It wasn't warm or inviting, it felt like an omen, taunting him to step closer. He stepped, cautiously at first, feeling the ground solidified beneath his feet. Each step felt like a dare, the shadows whispering warnings, their grief still tangled around him like a shroud. Sam, a voice echoed through the void, soft yet heavy with urgency. It was his mother's voice, but it was different, hollow, as if it came from beneath layers of sorrow. In a heartbeat the light surged, revealing a dimly lit room filled with flickering memories, old photographs, fading letters, heartache etched into each item. The air was thick with a melange of nostalgia and despair. The box. It had to be near. Something compelled him to search, a yearning to grasp at fragmented pieces of a life long neglected. He spotted the box, now illuminated softly by the light he had followed. It sat on a dust-covered table, enticingly mundane, yet radiating an unsettling energy. As he approached, the contents began to shift, rattling within as if anticipating his touch. Open it! Came the chorus, now changed to a desperate plea. The shadows reformed, splintering like shards of glass, faces emerging from the darkness, their expressions twisted in anguish. What lay inside would not only reveal the truth of his childhood but could also brand him with its weight forever. Sweat beaded on his brow as he hesitated, caught between fear and a deep-seated need. The whispers grew louder, shouting their demands. Open it, Sam! With trembling hands he swung the lid open. This time, a blinding light poured forth, illuminating dark corners of the room, chasing away shadows. At the bottom lay a journal. Its aged leather cover was cracked but still intact, a lone bastion of the past amidst chaos. He felt drawn to it, a gravitational pull. As he cracked open the pages, words began to swirl around him, memories taking form. They rushed at him, fast and furious, a deluge of emotions that tugged at his heart. He saw snippets of laughter, pain, unresolved anger, and lost moments. The journal was a reflection of all he had buried. Then he saw it, a name, a date, a revelation. Martha, It read, scrawled in his mother's handwriting, followed by a date that sent a chill down his spine. It marked the day of the last argument, the turning point. The quill punctuated with an urgency that felt haunting. Why didn't I know this? Sam whispered, grappling with the truth. Patterns of neglect and the choices they had made began to unfurl before him like smoke. Then, in an instant, the shadows surged, coiling around him again. You've awakened us. You must answer for the past. They thundered. Frantically, Sam flipped the pages, seeking clarity, seeking salvation. Each scratch of pen against paper was laden with sorrow, each word pulling him deeper into the heart of their story. Suddenly, the cacophony fell silent. Time hung suspended, and Sam's breath hitched in his throat. A passage flickered at the edge of his consciousness, a harsh truth screaming for acknowledgement. Do you really want to know what happened that day? Was he ready for that? As the indelible memories clawed at him, the light dimmed. The veil of darkness thickened, merging with the journal's haunting echoes. Answer us, Sam! The voices wailed, alive with anticipation. His hands shook, hovering over the fragile pages as if the act of turning them would seal his fate. He could sense it, the pivotal moment where he'd have to confront not just the past, but himself. Would the truth chart a course toward healing, or would he stand condemned in the shadow of his choices? As he braced for the revelation, the weight of the world crashed upon him. The moment had come. What ugly truth awaited him between the next pages? And would he be strong enough to face it? The air crackled with tension as Sam steadied himself, pulse racing. The journal felt heavier in his hands, a conduit for memories that begged to be unleashed. Words shuddered in the dim light, almost alive, yearning for recognition. With a deep breath, he pushed the pages open, and the words leapt at him like angry wraiths. Martha! The name echoed, filling the room with urgency. He read further, his eyes skimming over the lines, heart thumping in sync with the dark voices swirling around him. I remember the night. Each sentence pulled him deeper, each memory carving into his psyche. He could feel the shadows pressing in, excited by his unfolding story. The fight was over nothing and everything all at once. Images filled his mind, his mother's face twisted in anger, his own voice rising in protest. He could see that night play out like a film on repeat, remember the bitterness that coated their words. The room grew colder as the atmosphere thickened with their unresolved pain. Did you even care? Sam whispered to the darkness. It knew he wasn't just recalling an argument. He was tapping into a wound too raw to touch. A chill slithered down his spine, piercing his resolve. The journal's pages quaked beneath his fingertips, rippling with secrets buried deep. Pasteboards surrounding the journal began to vibrate, as if pleading with him to unearth the truth. The cries of the specters intensified. Open your eyes! They shrieked, their despair wrapping around him like a vice. What happened next? He pressed on, flipping to what felt like the climax of the story. The entries painted a picture darker than he anticipated. His mother had spiraled into a darkness he had never truly seen. Words like betrayal and fear punctured his shield of ignorance. Had they both been so blind to the truth brewing beneath their anger? And then he found it, a final entry, written with a trembling hand. I can't forgive what happened that night, and when Martha left, part of me went with her. The realization hit with the force of a hammer. He could see it now, the choices that left them shattered. Every wrong step, every rejection, bled into the pages like an unending wound. Didn't he realize? Sam gasped, the realization illuminating the darkest corners of his mind. But before he could comprehend, a powerful gust rattled through the room, slamming the journal shut. Shadows surged violently, releasing furious howls that enveloped him. You cannot escape! They screamed, encircling him, their icy fingers inching closer. Sam's mind raced. What wasn't he seeing? What had he missed in the pages of this eternal tragedy? The need for answers pushed him to the brink. He fumbled to open the journal again, but the shadows darkened, a palpable force preventing him from uncovering any more. Face the truth! They clamored, their faces flickering menacingly before him. He felt their pain. It thrummed through him, igniting a flicker of courage in his chest. Before he could take a deep breath, the whispers shifted. Martha, she never wanted to leave. You must uncover what happened after. Only then can you find peace. The shadows thinned for a moment, revealing a doorway behind him, an exit adorned with faint light. But it shimmered with the promise of the unknown. Could he step through? Did he really want to unravel this web of secrets entwining his past? Sam hesitated, the weight of legacy heavy on his shoulders. Reality blurred, and he became acutely aware of the consequences of his choice. What am I walking into? He murmured to himself. With a single step he crossed the threshold, feeling the air change around him. A voice, soft yet insistent, whispered from behind the portal, echoing into the silence. You've chosen. The truth is waiting, Sam, but it may not be what you hoped for. And in that heartbeat, the room shifted, reality twisting like smoke. The haunting hadn't ended, it was only just beginning. What awaited on the other side, and would Sam find the closure he desperately sought or drag it deeper into the shadows? The moment Sam stepped through the doorway, the air thickened, wrapping around him like an old blanket. He found himself in a narrow hallway, the light flickering overhead like a candle on the verge of extinction. The walls were lined with cracked photos, faces he didn't recognize, eyes seemingly following him as he passed. Each step echoed, a drumbeat of his rising anxiety. Where am I? He whispered, but the silence swallowed his voice whole. The vibrations of his frantic heartbeat were the only sound as he moved deeper into the darkness. It smelled of dust and decay, as if time itself had long since abandoned this place. Suddenly, a door swung open at the end of the hall, creaking ominously. A strange pull urged him forward. Could this be where the truth lay hidden? With his pulse pounding in his ears, he crossed the threshold into a dimly lit room. It was a small space, cluttered with outdated radio equipment and old recording tapes. The air buzzed with an energy he couldn't comprehend. A faded sign above the desk read, WZRD, where whispers become reality. Sam's breath hitched in his throat. The name sounded familiar, but it didn't hold the same weight as the memories tugging at him. He took a tentative step inside, feeling the odd hum wrap around him like an electric current. The presence of something otherworldly was undeniable. As he approached the radio console, a crackle erupted from the speakers, making him jump. You're listening to WZRD, where your secrets come alive, a voice said, smooth yet tinged with malice. Martha? He stammered, searching for any sign of her, or at least something that could connect him to her. The voice faded, but not before he heard a faint, familiar tune. It was the lullaby his mother used to sing. Terror squeezed his chest. How could it be here? Time slipped in and out like a flickering light. Shadows danced along the walls, moving in tandem with his fear. He could almost hear their whispers again, urging him to dig deeper, to uncover the truth that had bound him for too long. He rifled through the scattered tapes, each one promising whispers of forgotten memories. What happened to you, Martha? He felt crazy for talking to the shadows, but it was as if they recognized his plea. The room buzzed with energy as he flipped through the contents, his fingers trembling. Then, he found an old cassette labeled simply, The Night. With a deep breath, he dropped it into the player, heart racing. The moment he pressed play, a cacophony erupted. Screaming, it just kept going. The voice was frantic, overlapped by sounds of chaos, an argument twisting in pain. You have to understand, I did what I had to do. Mom? Sam breathed, recognizing the strain in her voice. The truth is bigger than both of us. I just wanted to protect. The tape crackled, and all at once, there was silence, stifling and thick like fog settling in. Sam leaned closer, staring into the depths of the speaker, desperate for clarity. What did you protect us from? But as the silence stretched, that very question set off an ear-piercing shriek, an unearthly wail that resonated through the room. Sam stumbled back, hands trembling as terror clawed at his chest. The shadows surged, swirling more violently than before. I told you, the voice echoed, now a chorus of shrieks, you cannot escape the truth. With the walls closing in around him, and visions of Martha flooding his mind, he realized he had scratched the surface of something much darker than he could fathom. They demanded more from him. What happened that night? They cried. He recoiled, fear coursing through his veins. Should he dig deeper, or could he turn back? But before he could make a decision, the speakers crackled again, this time quieter, as if someone was holding their breath, waiting. Sam, you must listen. The end is only the beginning. Cold sweat crept down his spine as he took a hesitant step forward. What new horrors awaited him? What other secrets clung to the very essence of this haunted station? The shadows shifted, whispering his name as a familiar tune began to play beneath the chaos. They beckoned him closer and closer. Would the echoes from the past offer the closure he desperately sought, or would they pull him deeper into despair? In that moment, Sam felt the weight of ages pressing upon him. The echoes of WZRD filled the air, a relentless tide dragging him into an unknown abyss. Breath held captive in his throat, he leaned closer to the flickering speakers, heart hammering in sync with the ominous whispers swirling around him. No more running, he whispered, steeling himself against the haunting presence. The tape whirred to life, the metallic whine fading into a cacophony of anguished voices. You need to know who she was, rang a tone of desperation amid the clamor. Each word was a ghostly push, demanding he dive deeper into memories soaked in pain. Static swirled, and within it emerged a melody, both enchanting and tragic. We were supposed to be a family, a disembodied voice crooned through the distortion. But fractured pieces couldn't stay together. The heartfelt lament felt all too familiar, as if tugging at the strings of his own lost innocence. The shadows around him glimmered, shifting to shadows of the past. Sam's home flickered before him like an old film, casting light on a darker truth shrouded by forgetfulness. A young boy, eyes full of fear, stood frozen in time, watching two figures, anger igniting the atmosphere. A stark image of his mother and father, their shouts like thunderclaps, shattered the stillness of the past. Sam's heart raced, slinking through turmoil as he clenched his jaw. Don't! He screamed, fighting against the pull of the memories. But they swarmed over him now, a torrent of unresolved emotions. Sam felt their pain, felt the sobs trapped in his chest. Go back! He commanded, as if he could wrest control from the ghosts that sought to claim him. The shadows responded, swirling as visions morphed. His mother, her face pale with fear, rushing to gather her child in a storm of shadows. The love was palpable, but it twisted as the shouts crescendoed into violence. Get out! She yelled, tears streaking her face. Forgive us for what we couldn't fix. Every yoke of his childhood that he thought he could salvage was being ripped apart. Why did you leave, Mom? He bellowed, reverberating through the surrounding darkness, piercing into the static. The specters paused, their expressions a kaleidoscope of mixed emotions: pain, regret, urgency. Because a voice, cracked with grief, echoed back a twisted reflection of his mother. I had to protect you from the truth. We thought we could shield you from our burdens. At that moment, clarity dawned like the first light of dawn breaking through the night. The truth wasn't just a story. It was a wound that needed confronting. His heart pounded as he grasped the enormity of their detachment, the pain that had driven her away. It was like staring into a mirror that reflected every ugly truth he had hidden from himself. Then let me carry it, he shouted, defiance igniting within him. I'm ready to face it. Show me. With those words, the shadows shifted dramatically, drawing back as light flooded the room. The void of whispers began to hum with anticipation. And then, one word emerged from the distortions, ricocheting off the walls: Martha. That name echoed like a hammer against the dark, igniting something within. Before he could blink, a vision sprung forth, a small house, peeling paint, and laughter that fractured into sobs. He saw the crumbled remains of a family's legacy, a secret waiting to be uncovered. This is it, he realized, shuddering, spirit alight. This is where it all began the night they shattered. Suddenly, the room shuddered under the weight of the collective sighs of the lost souls surrounding him, a release he hadn't expected. Step back into the night, Sam. Your choices will carve the way. They urged, now a possessed echo of sorrow and hope. With every ounce of resolve he had, Sam took a step forward and reached for the faded cassette. A blinding flash of light engulfed him. In the stillness that followed, the chaos receded, leaving him standing alone, yet somehow interconnected with the souls that had summoned him. The echoes integrated, softening, whispering their gratitude into the ether. "You've faced the night. Now the morning awaits," said the softness in the air, carrying the warmth of familial love. Memories began coiling inwards, teaching him healing through understanding. As the remnants of despair faded into the brightness, he felt their presence lift, as if finally set free. As the sunlight broke through the remnants of the storm, Sam emerged back into the studio of WZRD, hollow yet renewed. He glanced around him, the shadows now replaced by a profound quietude. He understood now. The ghosts wouldn't haunt him, they had transformed him. Their stories were his to bear, woven tightly with him. They weren't just memories. They were parts of a tapestry, his tapestry. Acceptance flowed through him, leaving healing in its wake. As he placed the cassette lovingly back into place, a tremor sparked through the structure, vibrating warmly as if signaling the lives brightened by released stories. Sam turned, glancing once more into the heart of WZRD. "Thank you," he whispered, feeling the warmth of every soul linger past him, a final embrace from the past he finally understood. With one last glance, he walked towards the door, the ghostly whispers quieting into a soothing song. Sam stepped outside, breathing in the crisp morning air, ready to forge a future unbound by the shadows of his past, emboldened by the truth he finally faced. "Here's to new beginnings," he breathed, a smile breaking through the remnants of the night's darkness. "Now, it's your turn. This is the moment to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you on your edge. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm that lets everyone discover this journey. I want to hear your reactions. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this hauntingly beautiful conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful ending. You need to support the channel, because only true fans understand the importance of these moments.